Hi, this is Brian Edwards, and today I want to talk to you about stock control and its important effect on cash flow. If you're a manufacturing business, I'm sure the simple mathematics of making a profit are quite well known to you. If we have a product with a cost price, for instance, £70, selling price £100, then we're going to make £30 profit for every product that we sell. That is the equivalent of 30% gross margin, and as a rough rule of thumb, if you're a manufacturing business in particular, then you should, after overheads, be returning a net profit of around about 10% if everything is under control. Profit is not the problem for most businesses that get into difficulty. If you're a manufacturing business and you're holding stock, raw materials to manufacture products, or a trading company that simply buys and stocks and offers an ex-stock service, then your biggest problem is going to be cash. And the businesses that get into trouble are the ones that run out of cash, because cash equals stock, or probably the other way around, stock equals cash. The traditional view of a warehouse is here's your warehouse and here's the stock that's in it, and whereas the supply chain manager or purchasing manager or stock control manager sees stock in the form of SKUs, stock keeping units, and he's happy to get that as high as he can, because he's not going to run out. He's not going to have the production manager screaming at him for parts that aren't there. He's not going to have customers screaming at him because he's offered an ex-stock service and he's run out of stock. So he's really wanting to keep this high. But the accountant here doesn't see stock. He sees pound notes, he sees dollars, he sees Mazuma. It's money, it's cash in the business. So the trick, of course, and it always brings a smile to my face, is that the supply chain manager has to have just enough stock, i.e. don't run out, but don't keep too much, because we'll run out of cash. So this is what this session's really all about, just understanding a very fundamental, a very simple, keep it simple, stupid way of understanding this phenomenon called stock and stock control. Modern computer systems hide the detail that goes on, or not the detail, it produces the detail behind a very simple understanding of what's happening with stock. And I can probably demonstrate that with just drawing the classic stock control graph for any stock keeping unit. What I'll draw down here is quantity. So this is a quantity, a product that we're keeping into stock, or demand that of product that we're selling. Across the bottom line, and I'm drawing this dotted for a reason which I'll come on to later, is going to be time. In this case we'll probably talk about weeks. So what we've got here, let's say, is a product that sells at the rate of we have 100 units in stock, and this sells at, let's keep it simple, 10 units per week. So stock would deplete, in this case at about 45 degrees I would guess, because that is week 10 there. So when we get to week 10 here, we've now got zero stock, and all our problems start if we get below this line. Now we know that demand is never exactly 10 units per week. It will be an average, so you will get this happening. When you get down in this critical area, all you need is a sudden demand, a spike that goes down there, and you're out of stock. It's on average of 10 units per week, but you've just hit a spike here. Now usually, to avoid that giving us a service problem, we would actually keep in stock more and do all the order processing when you get before you hit this bottom line. So I'm going to set, in this case, let's say 20 units, 2 weeks worth of stock, to allow for spikes like this or suppliers delivering late. So this is the week 10 here. Now this line is referred to as the safety stock level, or sometimes buffer stock. So I'm going to call it safety stock. You can call it what you want. I'll just run out there. There you go. So we've got safety stock level here. So we've got a demand coming down here, and when we get here we need more stock coming in. And when that more stock comes in, it boosts our stock back up here, and then the cycle continues. This is the classic shape of a stock control graph. Now there are some important things to bear in mind here. How is that going to come in exactly on week 10? If we only order it in week 10, it isn't, because every supplier that you have in the business will have a lead time. Some of them may be ex-stock, but generally speaking they have a lead time. In this case I'm going to go for one that's got a 4-week lead time. So in week 6, this supplier, we have to place an order on this supplier because it takes him 4 weeks here. This is the lead time, the distance between it coming in and when you ordered it. So this supplier has a 4-week lead time. I therefore need to place my order at this point here on the graph. Now this point here is referred to as the reorder point, ROP, reorder point. Important one, reorder point here. Lead time here, safety stock. And I'm going to place an order for the reorder quantity, which is the quantity here, which ROQ, reorder quantity. I'm not going to write this because my writing is getting increasingly more difficult to read, but you've got a reorder quantity of 80 here. So these are the important parts on this chart, and your supply chain manager must understand these. It's no good just understanding how your particular computer system works. You need this fundamental understanding. Now in terms of turning this into cash, this is cash. You have the area under this triangle here, which is your stock, and your average stock, most people would realize, is the area under that triangle. It's divided by 2. Well, sorry, the area under the square divided by 2 for the triangle, but in this case it's simply 100 minus 20, giving you 80, divided by 2, 40, but you've got 20 always in stock, so you've got 60, and you've got average stock 60. So 60 units average stock. That's 60 times the unit price, giving you the amount of stock in pounds that you're holding on average. You want to reduce this. There are a couple of ways of doing this. First of all, you could get your supplier, let's say, to improve his lead time to 2 weeks. So the lead time now is 2 weeks. So you must be working with the supplier to constantly reduce this lead time. You then would have an option to keep the reorder point the same but receive stock 2 weeks earlier. So if the reorder point is the same here, and you can now start, you've still got the same demand coming down here, but your reorder point is now 2 weeks earlier. Probably should have drawn that in the right place there. The reorder point is 2 weeks earlier, so you reorder here because it's going to come into stock here in week 8, and therefore you've now got the line going up there. Now that will give you an average stock which is lower, because this graph now is the area under that triangle there, so you've got that would reduce your average stock. Your other alternative is to keep it the same but order it 2 weeks later. So you bring your reorder point now to here, order it 2 weeks later, therefore you get a one-off cash improvement, because you wouldn't be paying for the goods until you have a 2 week window where goods wouldn't be needed to be paid for until 2 weeks later, because it's coming in quicker, and therefore your cash would improve with a one-off hit of 2 weeks. So there are lots of things you can do by fully understanding this graph. That's really all I wanted to get over in this session, that you must understand this graph, and this graph can be drawn for any SKU, any stock keeping unit that the business has, and you can see the effect on reducing supplier lead times, or even halving the or reducing the reorder quantities, that will all give you a positive benefit in terms of cash and stock holding without any detriment to the availability of stock. So it's really understanding how this chart works for all SKUs. Clearly, if you have thousands of SKUs, you're going to be able to use the 80-20 rule and maybe look at the 20% of your SKUs that generate 80% of your company's profits, and focus on those at this level in the graph. It's always worthwhile coming back to this graph periodically, moving away from the computer system and doing some old school mathematics on your critical products, and set up a project to reduce stock of these 20%. Keep it simple. Just moving on to the end of this session. If you enjoyed this session or found it useful, if you're looking at this on YouTube, then why not come and visit my site. It's Brian Edwards. I'll write it out here. It's Brian Edwards UK dot, that's a dot, co dot UK. Come and visit the site. If you're on the site now, listening to this, then just subscribe and get future notifications of my posts. Follow me on Twitter, and that is, not surprisingly, at Brian Edwards UK. So hope to speak to you again soon. Bye for now.